Halloween hasn't even passed yet, but we're already moving on to the next new banner. The Brave Redux Banner seems to be the second coming of last year's far-fetched banner, which was basically a bunch of popular characters determined from the Choose Your Legends poll who hadn't yet been in the game. According to the second CYL poll, results from the wiki, Loki, Kliff, and Owain were some of the top characters who still weren't in the game. There were some characters ahead of these guys such as Soki and Keaton, but considering they are beast units, and we don't have any of those in the game yet, I think they got passed over for a reason. Interestingly, Aversa, who can be seen in the trailer, is the fourth most popular unit after these three, so that's why she's going to be our next Grand Hero Battle unit. Coming soon. Enough explaining, we'll be looking at stats, new weapons and skills, and I'll cover some build ideas too. Let's get started. First up is Loki, who almost got a CYL spot herself. I wonder why. Loki comes with 42 HP, 33 attack, 35 speed, 16 defense, and 25 resistance. She is easily the most offensive infantry healer to date with the highest speed stat and the second highest attack stat. She is ready to do some damage. Her 42 HP is also very impressive, second highest for infantry healers. To offset all of this, her 16 defense is awful and 25 res is okay but not incredible. Loki is ready to take an offensive role as a healer, and that's great because it synergizes with her staff decently well. Before we move on to Loki's new skills, let's discuss the existing ones. Restore Plus is still a relatively new healing move, but it's one that I think is pretty interesting. It restores HP equal to 50% of your healer's attack stat with a minimum heal of 8. Its other effect is that it neutralizes penalties on allies. This includes the panic status, stat debuffs like threatened skills, and negative skill effects like gravity or the dazzling effect. Personally, I think Restore Plus is definitely a good healing assist skill. As for Loki's C skill, Odd Attack Wave is fine on a healer for supportive capabilities, and it pairs nicely with Loki's high attack and her weapon with Wrathful Staff. Speaking of Loki's staff, Thuk hasn't changed since we've seen Loki in the game, but let's talk about it anyway. First off, it comes with the Wrathful Staff effect, so you don't have to worry about dealing full damage. Thuk's second effect is that if the enemy has 3 or less HP than Loki, and you're standing in a line with Loki at the start of a turn, then bow, dagger, tome, and staff users won't be able to move more than one space. So Thuk has a gravity ploy against ranged units, and I'm sure you've experienced how annoying a long range gravity effect can be. With Loki's decently high HP, I could see Thuk being able to work in arena since most ranged units aren't hitting the high 40s in HP. However, in PvE content, I think Thuk is going to be useless most of the time. With Inferno and Abyssal difficulties inflating stats to insane levels, Loki's is not going to have more HP than those enemies. I think it would have been really good for PvE, but that HP requirement just hurts it badly, similar to how the boost skills are relatively worthless when facing units with 50 to 60 plus HP. As for Loki's special skill, she introduces a new one called Earth Water Bomb Plus. This is an upgraded version of the bomb skills, and it is inheritable too. It grants plus 6 defense and res to all allies when it activates, and since it's on a 1 turn cooldown, it's pretty easy to keep going as long as Loki is doing something each turn. I haven't really played around with the bomb skills a lot, but the global range is great for spread out engagements. Oh man, so another dual skill is here. This time it's for colorless infantry units, and that includes healers, daggers, and archers. If you're familiar with the other dual skills, they are strictly for arena only, and they just give a boost to these units' score by treating their BST as 170. This does not grant any type of real stats, it's purely for higher scoring in the arena. It also grants plus 5 HP, and for Loki and her gravity ploy staff, that is actually quite useful. Now for healers, this skill is great if you want to use them in arena because most healers aren't entirely dependent on their A skills. Healers now have so many powerful tools in their staffs and the potent Wrathful and Dazzling staff combo. Daggers and archers unfortunately probably want their stat boosting A skills, so having to sacrifice it for only plus 5 HP doesn't seem that amazing. Maybe that's not entirely true, so if you can find any Thuk to build for these type of units without their A skill, then let me know in the comments. Loki's niche is being able to mess up ranged units thanks to Thuk. As mentioned, colorless dual infantry actually is useful since it grants extra HP on top of Loki's pretty good base HP stat. We can add the Panic Ploy Sacred Seal to also mess up any teams who depend on buffs. In terms of B skills for healers, it's tough not to go with Dazzling Staff since that will protect Loki when she makes offensive moves. Keeping Loki safe also makes sure she can continue to use Thuk and Panic Ploy to annoy enemy ranged units. If you don't have Dazzling Staff available, then Live to Serve is a good substitute because it would then let Loki heal herself when she heals an ally. Now if you want a different staff to cause trouble, then Pain Plus is top tier. With colorless dual infantry increasing healer arena scores, I'm sure you'll start to see builds like this in the higher tiers of arena. If you allow a Pain Plus Savage Blow healer to hit your team, you are gonna feel it, and I highly advise you don't let that happen. If you run a team with a focus on enemy phase builds, well, that is not gonna save you from Dazzling Staff healers. Just be grateful that there isn't a dual skill for cavalry healers yet, because when that does happen, Arena is going to be awful. I do not want to see a full team of healers like this because they are just way too annoying. Moving on to Kliff, who is the last member from Ram Village. In my playthrough of Shadows of Valentia, I did make Kliff into a mage, and he was probably my best performing villager, besides Alma of course. In Heroes, Kliff is a blue infantry mage with 37 HP, 30 attack, 37 speed, 25 defense, and 28 resistance. This is a pretty interesting stat line because Kliff does tie for fastest blue mage in the game. 30 attack is pretty average, but it does matter regarding Kliff's unique weapon. 25 defense and 28 res is also decent, and they will be an important part of Kliff's kit. Just looking at Kliff's existing skills, he has Growing Light for a special, which I think is absolutely awful for him because of his unique weapon. However, his B skill Chill Speed is actually very good for him, and we'll discuss why shortly. Last, he comes with 45 res, I guess because they didn't want to give him anything more powerful. So Kliff comes with Sagitté, which is a unique tome that grants a flat +3 defense. Oddly enough, it's a 14 might tome like other legendary tomes, but that's actually not the greatest thing because of how Sagitté works. Basically, at the start of combat, if the enemy has 5 or more attack than Kliff, then he gets a +5 stat boost to all of his stats during combat. So Kliff wants to have lower attack to then get more attack. Now this is a very strange effect, and honestly I'm really not sure how it's going to play out. I think the idea is that despite Kliff having lowish attack, he'll benefit from the +5 speed to get more follow-up attacks to make up the difference. He also receives +5 defense and res, and he becomes pretty tanky all of a sudden. As mentioned, since Kliff has Chill Speed, it only makes it easier to double other fast units. With 42 speed when Sagitté is active, this should be pretty easy to achieve. Overall, I'm not really sure if Sagitté is actually good, or it's trying too hard to be unique and not really worth the effort. You'll need to make sure Kliff has lower attack than his opponents, but you don't exactly want to be doing 0 damage. Now, Kliff does get some help in reducing his overall attack stat from his new A skill, Fortress Defense and Resistance. Basically, this skill power creeps the 2 old Fortress skills by granting +6 defense and resistance only in exchange for -2 attack. Now this is actually a very cool skill because units who want +6 defense and res probably aren't hurting too bad from that small attack loss. This skill also has the benefit of working on both phases, unlike close defense or the stance skills. For Kliff specifically, if you've been keeping track, he can actually get a potential +14 extra defense and +11 extra res from Sagitté and this Fortress Defense and Res skill. Kliff is just a very odd unit if you want to run Sagitté, but he comes with probably one of the best support skills to make it work. In terms of builds, since Sagitté is so unique, Kliff will build much differently than your usual infantry mage. Again, Fortress Defense and Res is basically made for him, so I don't see why you should not use it. He can reach 39 defense and res with Fortress Defense and Resistance and Sagitté active, which is pretty damn impressive. Chill Speed helps in getting him more follow-ups, and remember he's getting +5 speed if Sagitté is active. Kliff wants to double often to make up for his lower single hit damage, and honestly that's fine for the most part. Something like the Speed +3 seal will do that, or you can bolster his defenses more. As for specials, get rid of Growing Light because the AoE specials benefit from more on high attack units. Since Kliff wants to have a lower attack stat, he is perfect to run Mumbo or Luna. He can also run Bonfire, Iceberg, Ignis, or Glacies if you really want, because he is stacking his defense and res to pretty high values. Kliff has potential to run a close counter setup with Sagitté granting that extra +5 defense and res, not to mention the extra attack and speed. Unfortunately, you will have to lose Fortress Defense and Resistance, but you can make up for it with a Sacred Seal like Closer Distant Defense, as well as ally buffs. Unlike most defensive close counter mages who tend to be slow, Kliff is extremely fast, so he shouldn't be getting doubled often, and that helps preserve his tankiness. I'm not sure if this will be a meta-defining build, but it does look fun, and I'm sure it will have some effectiveness. I'll also throw out that if you don't think Sagitté is very good because of its activation requirement, then maybe Kliff could use an Owl Tome. You don't have to worry about the whole lower attack threshold, and you can still get some extra stat points by being near allies. However, I still think Sagitté would be better overall if you can make it work. The extra stats can also be used with player phase initiations, and Kliff could just be an all-around tanky mage who is also quite fast. I think he will be an interesting unit to play with, but it's possible that maybe Sagitté doesn't exactly feel great to use. I guess time will tell. Last but not least is Owain, who finally makes his original debut. Owain is the son of Lissa, which makes him a cousin to Lucina as well as Crom's nephew. To make things clear, Owain and Odin are the same person, and you can go dig around deeper if you want to know why the name change and all that stuff. Owain is an infantry sword unit with 41 HP, 32 attack, 37 speed, 31 defense, and 22 resistance. His stats are extremely close to Ira's of all people. His 37 speed isn't crazy fast, but it's still very serviceable, and paired with 32 attack and 31 defense, Owain will be a great melee fighter. Before we get to Owain's new skills, he comes with some good old ones. Attack and defense bond grants +5 attack and defense when next to any ally. Wrath grants a damage boost on special procs if Owain gets below 75% HP, and it also grants some extra special cooldown. Last, Spur Speed and Defense is a fine support skill, granting adjacent allies +3 speed and defense during combat. As for Owain's unique weapon, he also comes with MISSILETAINN. This is the 4th MISSILETAINN we've had, but do know that there is a reason for all the same names. The original MISSILETAINN is the demon sword that Eldigan wields. This sword is passed on to Ares, who is Eldigan's son, and I think is the same weapon despite the different name in Heroes. As for Owain and Ophelia's MISSILETAINNs, those have a bit more story behind them. In Awakening, Owain gets a seemingly common sword from a villager, and he believes it to be the same demon sword, MISSILETAINN from Legend. However, it turns out that this sword is just like many others, and it's really nothing special. Despite this, when Owain, or rather Odin, has Ophelia and she gets to name her own tome, she chooses MISSILETAINN too, because she liked the name while looking at Odin's book of weapon names. In Heroes, all 4 of these MISSILETAINNs have different effects, so have fun remembering all of them. Getting back on track, Owain's MISSILETAINN sword comes with special trigger -1. Its second effect is a bit more interesting because when an enemy attacks, Owain gets special charge +1 per the foe's attack. So think of this as kind of like a reverse heavy blade. If Owain makes an attack, everything is normal, but when the enemy strikes then, that's when he gets extra cooldown. It's clear that this is a weapon that works best when you let the enemy strike first and then have Owain reply with a charge special. Since MISSILETAINN has the killer effect, this would work with 2 or 3 turn specials. Luckily, Owain comes with a 3-turn special called Blue Flame. And as it turns out, Blue Flame is a new inheritable special, so have fun with that. Blue Flame simply does 10 damage. However, if the user is next to any ally when it triggers, then it does 25 damage. For a 3-turn special, 25 damage is equal to a 50 defense bonfire, so that is pretty darn strong. On the flip side, if you aren't standing next to an ally, then it's about as strong as a decent Moonbow proc, and for being on a 3-turn cooldown, that's obviously not so worthwhile. So Blue Flame is a special that relies on positioning versus having to rely on raw stats of your unit or the enemy unit. I wouldn't say it's overpowered like Black Luna, but if you use it on a team that sticks together, then a 25 damage special on a 3-turn cooldown isn't bad at all. Some examples could include teams that use Guidance, Wings of Mercy, Bond skills, or anything similar, which would all be good candidates for this special. Now for Owain specifically, with MISSILETAINN, he can proc Blue Flame as soon as he takes 1 hit. Since he also comes with Wrath, if Owain were to dip below 75% HP, he would then get that additional 10 damage and be hitting people with a 35 damage Blue Flame proc. For builds, Owain comes with a pretty darn good base kit. Attack and defense bond synergizes with Blue Flame to get that 25 damage, and Owain will end up with 36 defense, which is just fine. As we mentioned, MISSILETAINN plus Blue Flame plus Wrath will be a strong combo, and Owain just needs to take 1 hit to proc Blue Flame. Ideally, with this kit, he wants to be baiting in enemies and standing next to his team. For Sacred Seals, you can fill that spot with any stat boosters you want, more attack, more speed, extra defenses, or even team buffs. If you get Owain, you shouldn't have to change much to see good results. Now, if you want to play a bit more riskier, then swapping attack and defense bond for Brazen attack and defense could be an option. You sacrifice some power on the first round of combat, but remember that we do want Owain to get into Wrath range to boost his damage further. Once in Wrath range, he can abuse Brazen skills to get a huge attack boost and stay alive as well. Ideally, Brazen attack and Res Seal should be attack and defense, but for now, getting the extra attack works too. Last, if you just want to have some fun, then give Owain a Woe Dow. Tack on another plus 10 damage when specials proc to potentially see a 45 damage Blue Flame. Unfortunately, Blue Flame won't be activated after 1 hit, but if you can get into Wrath range, then after that, it should be ready every turn. Honestly, since Blue Flame is inheritable, this type of build would be disgusting on the Nameless Blade users, because Nameless Blade is a Woe Dow with a -1 special cooldown. Fur and Corel would be able to proc Blue Flame after 1 hit and get it to deal 35 damage just from their weapon, with Wrath bringing it up to 45 if they get low enough. I think this would be a fun build for both of those units if you have them. Overall, this is a pretty decent banner. Loki is now our best infantry healer in terms of offensive stats, and of course her colorless dual infantry skill is gonna make Arena very interesting. Kliff is a fast blue mage, and with the really unique Sagittarian tome, he plays differently than a normal mage. He can become deceptively tanky as well, which is neat. As for Owain, he's just a solid sword infantry unit with good attack, speed, and defense for melee brawls. He also introduces Blue Flame to the game, which is a new damage special that relies on positioning for extra damage. In terms of skill inheritance, Loki's got the dual skill, Kliff has Fortress Defense and Res, and Owain's got Blue Flame plus Wrath too. I think all of these guys are pretty good units, so if anyone interests you, then pull away. As for this banner breakdown, I would love to get Owain, but unless I get real lucky, then I'll probably have to wait for another opportunity. Let me know in the comments who you guys want to get, or just your general thoughts on the banner. I'll see you guys in the next video.
If it isn't the hero champion! Brave master? No, brave champion! Wait, the daring hero! Oh, I got it. The hero champion! Wait, did I say that one already? The champion of daring heroes! The heroic brave! The master of heroes!